Hey guys, what's up? It's Snake, and I am back. We finally made it to Kino Der Toten, and it's going to be a super episode, both in size and some of the stuff we got to get through is kind of crazy. I think in the end it's going to end up being something like 27 minutes. I don't even want to think about how long this is going to take to export and then upload. But yeah. So I hope y'all enjoy this. Let's see. Kino Der Toten, Theater of the Dead, but it's not actually the Theater of the Dead. This theater is called the Black Sun Theater, and we know because there's a sign outside, and it's actually got a blank, an empty space where the word black should go, and then underneath it says Soul Kino, which is German for Sun Theater, so the Black Sun Theater. And the Black Sun is actually an emblem that dates back to ancient Sumeria, I believe, and it's a derivative of the swastika. And when I say, of course, swastika, I'm not actually referring directly to the German Nazi emblem, but what the German Nazi emblem was taken from. And we see similar emblems all around the world, all over the place, dating back to antiquity, like all pre-written history. And what the black sun is supposed to symbolize is the invisible light of the Godhead. And of course, the Godhead isn't actually a head like you and I have on top of our shoulders, but head sort of like the penultimate or the apex, if you will. Like if you look at a pyramid, that top point, that's the head of it, that's the peak. So the Godhead, if you is sort of this all-inclusive entity. Like in other words, it's the universe, but it's the consciousness of the universe, not just the universe itself. If that sort of makes sense. Like in other words, you and me, we're people, but our minds are really what where everything starts. And so that's what the Godhead is supposed to be. And a lot of people worshipped or revered this black sun emblem. But one of those groups was called the Vril Society. And the reason why I bring that up, of course, is because there's a chalkboard somewhere in this theater, and it's got a bunch of scribblings on it and pictures, and one of the words it says is Vril. And the Vril Society was actually made up of three smaller societies, a smaller Vril group that was made up of women mediums and psychics, the Thal, and the lords or men of the Black Stone. And the Black Stone, they were witch hunters, and the Thal, as well as the Vril, they believed that we came from aliens, from another world, like long, long ago. And it's actually the Aryan race, the ancient Aryan race, like the Nordic Aryan race, was believed to be aliens from a planet, or not a planet, I should say, but from somewhere out in space around this star, which was called Aldebaran, which is also known as the Bull's Eye because it is the eye of the constellation Taurus, and it's 65 million light years away. And of course, the reason why what the deal is with the Vril Society is during the war, and actually before the war, they were set up. They got together in 1919. And then when the Nazis took over Germany, Hitler, of course, became very interested in the occult and stuff like this. So he got the Vril Society together, and they were all working on, in different parts, different projects, trying to create a spaceship. Of course, the idea was that the Aryan race would take over the world, but they sort of had an alternate plan too, a Z plan or future plan. And what the deal was, because they were concerned that they were going to lose the war. And so they thought, well, all we got to do is build this spaceship, jump in it, and leave, and then we come back somewhere during the 21st century with, I don't know, more firepower or who knows what else, and then that's when we'd be able to take over the world. So kind of crazy, but and the funny thing too, I think, Aryan, alien, I'm only saying, anyway. So that's a little bit of the backstory, what's going on here. Let's talk about our characters. Now, our characters obviously teleported here, and like I've said in past videos, every step of the way, we're putting together different parts of Richthofen's master plan. So we'll skip Kino Der Toten and Verrückt, and Shinonuma, which is the first one that Richthofen is in. We go there specifically to pick up the DG2. Then we return to Derice in order to pack-a-punch it. And then we come here because we need to get something. We either need to get something else or get something that we can use somehow in conjunction with a pack-a-punched DG2, possibly as a power source, of course. The DG2, I mean, not what we're looking for. But we traveled through time, which was unexpected. Richthofen was actually surprised by it. So he actually meant to come here back in 1945. And as we see, this theater's all destroyed and decrepit, so whatever we were looking for is no longer here. And so we have to go elsewhere to find it. Now, what we're looking for, who knows? But we were actually really looking for two things, because whatever the main thing was we were looking for is in here, but his notebook isn't here either. I'm talking about Richthofen's notebook, which has a lot of information that he needs. Now, yes, there's a lot of books that say Richthofen DG2-DG3, but they're textbooks. Why would he have a whole bunch of copies of his notebook? It seems to me that this theater is more of like a propaganda machine. It would be a place that they could come and show off their progress on their wonder weapons, as well as show films and things like that to get them sort of pumped up and excited. And of course, I have the movie posters to talk about that are kind of along those lines too, the propaganda aspect of this theater. But his textbook, his notebook I should say, parts of it were recreated and reproduced as textbooks in order to show the other groups, the other scientists, what he was doing and sort of get their ideas and sort of figure out how to make the DG2 better maybe, or get ideas on how to make their own weapons, etc., etc. So now we're here. We need his notebook, but it's not here, so we're going to need to go somewhere else, but we got to deal with the zombies first. And we're looking around, and there's a whole bunch of things all over the place. On the walls we see written, "Beware of the Six," and some people think that has to do with the Nova 6 gas, although I disagree. They reference the the failed experiments. But you see, the reason why I think the experiments are failed has nothing to do with the beware of 6. It's not Nova 6, because the crawlers or the gas zombies don't have Nova 6 gas in them. Because if you played the storyline, or the campaign I should say, Nova gas, which was taken from the Germans, was then refined by the Russians and turned into Nova 6. And Nova 6 actually kills you, whereas Nova gas just sort of messes you up and it's just really unpleasant. And when the gas zombies explode, you don't die, you just can't see, and you go really slow and you get a little hurt, just like Nova gas, not like Nova 6 gas, which is different. So I feel like that's why they were failed experiments, because they were trying to make them Nova 6 gas, but they just had the Nova gas, and so it didn't work out exactly as planned. And of course, it maybe not, but I think that too, the Nova gas zombies are what's in those canisters too on the stage, and them being in canisters is just sort of like their larva stage, like they're waiting to form or something like that. But they've been sitting there for so long, they probably just died inside. Okay, so what else do we got? Well, where are we? When are we, and where are we? That's another big question too, because we went forward in time, so we need to figure out the time frame. And there is one thing that kind of figures it out both questions for us. When you go outside into the alleyway, you'll see what's called the Fernshturm, or I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not good, but I'm not good at German, but I'll put the word written down in the description. But it's a TV tower, and the word actually translates into television tower from German. And it was actually erected in 1965 and finished in 69. So we know we're in the 60s, in the mid-60s. And we know, because it's in East Berlin and we see the Berlin Wall, that we're in West Berlin. Now, the only problem with this is that it can't actually be 1965. They probably just put that there to give us a good reference of where we are, as opposed to exactly when we are, just sort of a roundabout guesstimate at when we are. And the reason why I say it can't be 1965 yet is because there is no DG2 in the map. which means that even though we have the DG2, because we have to have it in order to give it to the players in Call of the Dead, it doesn't work anymore because it got overloaded just like the teleporter did. Now, if it's overloaded, when you jump in the teleporter, you won't travel through time anymore. Well, if we're not traveling through time, then we can't be going forward or backwards, so we have to be at the same time we are in Ascension. And Ascension's at the same time as 5, and 5 has JFK, which means it was before November 22nd in 1963, excuse me. So 63, even though it's 2 years before 65, the tower's still there just to give us a reference point. Some of the other stuff written on the wall too, Samantha Amelia Abigail, giving us a hint that Sam is not exactly Maxis's daughter, which I've talked about before. Manhattan Down is a word that is made from letters in one of the rooms upstairs along the alleyway. And it's not really sure what exactly that means. Some people think it may have something to do with the Manhattan Project, which of course was the project to create the atomic bomb. And that's kind of a good guess, I suppose. Perhaps we were trying to synthesize element 115 and accidentally discovered the atomic bomb. So maybe that's what that's talking about. Of course, that's just kind of a pulling it out my ass kind of guess right there. Let's see what else. Oh, and then the portraits on the wall. We got 5 portraits on the wall, which is the 4 of us, and then a blank guy. And some people think it's the Mexican. Maybe, maybe not. There's a few other blank pictures on the floor. So that kind of leads it to maybe not being the Mexican, or if it is the Mexican, then it means that there were more than just the original 3 people who were immune to element 115. Richtofen had other, subjects as well that may have possibly, of course, been killed just like the Mexican. The only reason why I would say maybe it's not him and maybe it's somebody else who's a little bit more important is because when Takio in particular goes up to that picture and you click the interact button, he says, "Oh, it is a picture of someone who once was but is no more, but may be again." So it's kind of a hint that, and it doesn't sound like he just died and became a zombie. It sounds kind of like maybe it's somebody that died but is actually going to be resurrected, or maybe left but will return somehow or something like that. So there's a big question mark right there with the pictures. And then the movie / play posters. There's Die Bismarck, which is actually not a British movie about British officers fighting against the Bismarck ship, which was a German ship. It's actually a 1941 German documentary propaganda film, which ties in again to this theater being a propaganda theater because of the screen on the wall and all. I mean, the screen in the theater and all that other stuff, the teleporter and whatnot. While we're in this room right here, if you turn left instead of going straight, there's a door that you can, or a window that you can go up to, and inside the closet there's somebody knocking, like they're inside of a chest or something. I don't know who it is, and I don't know what it has to do with, but it's kind of creepy. So we got Die Bismarck, which is a documentary film, and then the other 2 posters, one is for Pygmalion, which a lot of people assume it has to do with Eliza Doolittle and My Fair Lady, but it doesn't. Pygmalion, before Bernard Shaw, whatever, I forget his first name, all of a sudden I'm blanking, but anyway, before Shaw wrote his famous play, it used to be the name of a sculptor in one of Ovid's plays or one of Ovid's poems, back even before Greek mythology. And here's this guy who wasn't attracted to women, not in like a gay sense or anything, but just like, I guess he lived somewhere where there were tons of prostitutes, and he was never really attracted to any of the women. And he was an artist, so he went out and he carved himself the most beautiful woman in the world. And so on one such festival, to speed the story up, Aphrodite comes down and grants him his wish and turns the girl into a real woman, not just a sculpture. So, it's sort of like a Pinocchio kind of story, but it's also kind of like Richtofen and Maxis creating the zombies out of dead flesh. He creates this woman, this automaton, but not in the mechanical or robotic sense, more of like a golem almost, but a very sexy and naked golem. So there's that. And then last but not least, we have Faust. And real quick, I'll run through the storyline on Faust. Satan makes a deal with an angel, and he says that I can take away this guy's soul if I can get him to give me his soul and if I win, I get to rule over the earth. And so he wreaks a plague on Faust's city or village, and then he gives Faust all this power. And Faust at first starts using it to help people, but then they don't like him because they can obviously tell he's made some sort of deal with the devil or something like that, because he's allergic to crucifixes. He can't look at them. And so then he decides, okay, I want my youth and I want power and money and all this other stuff. And so they're traveling around or whatever, and he runs into this woman who he ends up falling in love with. And then Satan kills her brother, frames Faust, and then Faust leaves. But when he leaves, the villagers blame the sister or the lover and go to kill her. They tie her up at the stake and they're going to burn her alive. And so Faust renounces his youth and runs over and jumps on the flames to be with his love as she dies. And she recognizes him and everything, and love wins out, and Satan doesn't get to rule over the earth. But we can sort of tie links between the lover and the elder Faust, with Sam and Maxis saving her, well, not really saving her, but being with her in her last moments of life before the dog comes and they jump into the teleporter, and she becomes part of the ether, part of the zombie consciousness. And we can tie references between Mephisto and Richtofen, because he wants to rule over the world using the zombies. So yeah, those are the movie/play posters. And then of course we have the teleporter, which has some weird images in it, almost like it's showing us glimpses of the past, present, and future. And then of course when we jump in it too, we actually get teleported to the past, present, and future. Or I shouldn't even really say the present. There's no real present places, but there's a past place. We go to Varut before it's been completely destroyed, and looks like the way it does in the level that we play. And then we go to 5, and we can actually hear the zombies breaking out, which means we go to it in the future at the same exact time as Ascension is happening. And then we go to Sam's room, but we go to 2 different versions. We go to the normal version and the crazy version. And this, I think, is less an actual version of her room and more of like the 2 versions of her psyche, the little girl and the demonic version. And the neat thing about, the little girl version, it's got the little dolls of our characters on a level, or on like a little play set, which is kind of interesting. And it's got the perk bottles in there and some other fun stuff to look at. But the really interesting thing, I think, is when you go into the demonic world, into her demonic house or room. You look at the big teddy bear on the wall, and there's 2 shelves, and one of them fell down on half of it onto the bottom shelf, and it actually looks like it says 950, or I should say 1145. But if it's the demonic side, it's sort of like a reverse of the other reality, of her other side. So if you reverse the time, instead of it being 1145, it becomes 115. So I thought that was kind of neat too. And then of course all over the floor, not around here but outside, there is the green and white tiles, which is a very common Masonic type tile that you would see in some of their dens. And then there's a board that has writing on it in German, and the best way I can translate it, it says, "Who is prepared to withstand them?" And maybe this is referring to us fighting against the zombies. Like, are we prepared? Are we ready for them? And I told you about the knocking in the closet and the radios. That's the last thing we have to talk about today, is the radios. We've got 5 different radios that we can listen to. 3 of them are part of the reels, and you put the reels in the projection room, which has the pack-a-punch machine, and we hear Max is talking about different experiments that he's doing. And at first they start out slow, but then things start to catch on, and the brainwashing or whatever it is that they're doing to try to control the zombies is starting to work. And so it looks pretty promising. And then finally a subject 26 or 26 comes along, and things start to be seem to be working great. Like, he's responding really well, and it seems for like 2 weeks everything's going just fine. And then they get to a point in the research where I guess what they're doing is they're trying to teach him something and then see if he can recall it the next day. And so, they need him to keep this information in over a 26-hour period. Which, it's strange that they say 26 hours and not like 24 or a day. The real reason why I think it's strange is because they say 26 hours and his number is 26. So I don't know if there's a connection there, or if 26 means something special that we're just not getting just yet, or what. But then finally, after that recording, the next day, they're doing the experiments, and there's a fire alarm for some reason, and the zombie flips out and has to be put down. And the zombie actually ends up biting one of the scientists. So this may be part of how the zombie outbreak occurs at Derice. It's not just because Richtofen locks Maxis and Sam in the room. Maybe even Richtofen locks him in the room, grabs us, leaves to Shinonuma, and when he comes back, he finds the place destroyed. As in, he left it not knowing, not being aware that somebody was turning into a zombie and that all hell was breaking loose at Derice yet. And so some of the things that we see in the projection screen, whenever we play the radios, the projection screen changes. We see somebody in a lab, obviously making something, possibly making some sort of serum that they can use in order to control the zombie's mind. And we see the letters E, A, and R, although I don't think it's supposed to be necessarily in that order, if they're supposed to be in any order, or if they're just if they're random letters but signifying something, three separate things as opposed to one full entity. But the different possible ways they could work out is either ear, R, or Rea, or something like that, R-E-A. And that in Latin, it's a Latin word, it's a feminine word for guilty of, or the cause of. So I don't know if that is some sort of reference to Sam being the cause of all this, or if that's just me accidentally finding something that happens to coincide coincidentally, and it really has no significance here. So I don't know. And then some of the other stuff we see the eyeball, and we see the numbers 110, 115, and 5. And I don't really know what the 110 or the 5 are supposed to be, unless they're supposed to be added together, perhaps. But obviously the 115 is a reference to element 115. And then there's pictures of zombies walking forward with their hands up, and this one comes with the radio message of when he's talking about how it seems to be working really well, and if everything goes as planned, it seems like this could work in almost every case, meaning the way they're controlling the zombies' minds. So this could be pictures of them having zombies walk forward, and they're telling the zombies what to do, and the zombies are listening. There's also some sort of weird craft behind the zombies in one of these pictures. I don't know if that's some sort of teleporter, or if it's a spacecraft, or what it is. If it's anything at all, or if it's just kind of a smudge, because all the images are kind of blurry and we're just making something out of nothing. That's the really tough thing with a lot of the zombie storyline stuff, because sometimes you see something and you're like, oh, I wonder what this means. And it could either mean something big or not mean something at all, or it could just mean what it means. You got to just take it as face value. And since there's no book, there's no definite answer to any of this stuff. It's kind of tough to weed through it all. You know what I mean? And anyway, and the last thing we see up on the picture, and it's actually something we also see next to the Samantha Amelia Abigail name. And it's also something we saw in Derice as well, and that is the initials JD, which of course stands for Josh Olin. And I know what you're thinking. Olin doesn't start with a D, and you're absolutely right. Olin does not start with a D. The D is not silent. It does not exist. But Josh Olin does work for Treyarch. And he works on the zombie maps. And his Twitter page is JD_2020. So it is believed that the JDs are his signature, his sort of like, hey, what's up, guys? I made this. And I'm inclined to believe that. Now, at some point, if we find out that maybe the JD meant something else and then he took that JD to create his Twitter page name, then I'd totally buy it. It would make complete sense, you know. I'm not saying that that's not true, but I am saying as of right now, there's nothing else that makes any sense as far as what the JD is concerned with, you know, like who is it, what the connection is. So for right now, JD just makes more sense as Josh Olin. It's his Twitter, you know, it's his Twitter account, and then, you know, it makes complete sense that, you know, if I made a zombie map, I would want to leave my initials in it somehow. I would want to leave my mark. You know what I'm saying? And you know, just to mention his Twitter page, it is JD_2020, and he posts a lot of information about zombies and Call of Duty and things like that. He was actually the one who told us that Black Ops was definitely going to have a zombie mode. So yeah, I think I'll leave a link to his Twitter page in the description if you want to check him out. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us, guys. I did want to mention one more thing, and that is that I didn't really cover 100% of this map. There is some more information to be had from this map, but you know, and if you notice that I didn't really cover everything, the reason why, there's two reasons. One, I really didn't want to go over 30 minutes for this video, because even though y'all said y'all wanted a large video, and I hope y'all like it. It feels good. I think it feels better this way, to have sort of an all-inclusive video, just one big long video, so you can get through all the information at once. But go ahead and leave comments below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you like the longer video, or if y'all want me to go back to 2 parts. But A, I didn't want to go over 30 minutes for it, and B, a lot of the information that I shouldn't say a lot. The little bit of information that I didn't go over from this map, I didn't go over because most of it really pertains to other maps, and it's just sort of like fun, neat things that sort of connect and confirm, or you know, back up the information that can be found in some of the newer maps. So it's one of those things that we're really just going to have to wait and get to later levels and get to the later maps, and then talk about the information, and then we can start drawing the line back to here and sort of go, oh, okay, I get it. I see what's going on. This all makes sense now. So, yep, that's going to be it for me. I hope you liked the video, and next week there's going to be more. So stay tuned. Peace out, guys.